Tune in to UFO Undercover, Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, with your host, Joe Montaldo, right here on the Paranormal Radio Network.
I had enough.
Well, you drove out there into the middle of nowhere and had some sort of loud verbal display challenging ET in general out in the middle of nowhere?
That's what I was doing. I actually had a pistol in my hand at the time. I was really ticked off. When I was having this fit, I was waving the gun in the air, okay, and I had this fit. And at this moment, I said, okay.
He was a Louisiana man named Montaldo. Folks around called him Six Gun Joe. Worked with ICAR, don't you know? Investigating UFOs. Out for a drive with a gal one night, they stopped to check out the reporting site. When an alien lit right there on the ground, he commenced to throwing his weight around. Now, old Six Gun didn't take too kindly to that kind of thing, especially without Vaseline or anything like that, you know. Seriously. Well, Six Gun looked that critter right in the eye and said, "Any last wish before you die?" Yo, reached for his gun, quick as a twitch, and said, "Fill your claw, you son of a bitch." Now a legend spread across the land about this pistol-waving man. But if you're from space or from Earth below, you don't give no lip to Six Gun Joe.
Welcome to UFO Undercover, with your host, Joe Montaldo.
Wow, I haven't heard them in that order in a long time. Hello, everyone. I hope everyone's having a great morning, great afternoon, great evening, wherever you are on our big, beautiful blue planet. Let me grab a sip. Barks root beer. I don't know if y'all can get that around the country, but it's really good root beer. Really good stuff to drink and share with your friends and loved ones. For anybody who writes me, know I'm not wearing a tie tonight. It's hot in the studio. I got to bring in a new unit, so that's as best as y'all getting. We're going to have a special guest on tonight, Trish Mo. She is one of the hosts on the network. She hosts with Chasing Prophecy with Ginny and Jason and Sean. So you can catch them there every Tuesday. They are, 8 to 10 p.m. They follow Discovery Paranormal with Michael Angley. And, of course, Sean Kelly wraps up the night with Into the Night. He wraps it up for the evening after Chasing Prophecy. So, but you can catch her there. And then she hosts her own show on Mondays called The Missing Piece. Very interesting. She's been having some interesting shows, I got to say. It's a new show. It's only been around now. I think it's 4 episodes in now, 4 or 5. I think it's 4. I think this will be the 5th one coming up this week. So be sure to check in. She does some with herself, some with guests. It's a mix. So come by and check out and see what you think about it. She'll be joining us in a little while. I know she's getting on her way from work, so it's a little early around the country. It's 6 o'clock my time, which is Central Time, which is early. And, of course, for our California people, it's only 4 o'clock in the afternoon. East Coast a little bit later. It's 7 o'clock. So for y'all out there on the East Coast, nice. Welcome to the show. Thank you, Ginger. Yeah, I know it's been a while since I've been live. Well, the thing about it is, if you're an old listener, you'll know if I'm live or not because you'll know all the shows. But if you're a new listener, you won't. The audio quality is too good. We don't date the show, so you never know who's going to be on. There's a lot of good guests we've had on over the years, a lot of good guests we've had on lately. But my construction company's been so busy the last few months because the show's so early, 6 o'clock. I work in New Orleans. It was hard for me to get home and guarantee guests that I would be here for 6. I didn't want to have any shows until I knew I would have the time to properly entertain my guests. I don't want to come in last minute tired. It's one thing when I'm a guest. It's another thing when I'm a host. A lot of times when I'm guesting, they'll catch me right at the end of something, right at the beginning of something. That's fine. But as a host, it's a little bit different. Damn, these glasses are dirty. As a host, I want to be a little bit more together, a little bit more aware of what's going on and things like that. For my friends out in LA and San Diego and right around there, San Francisco, I'll be out in Los Angeles from April 2nd to I think the 9th. I'll be leaving on Sunday, but I don't know what time. So it's somewhere on my schedule. I just haven't sat down and looked at it, but it's probably an afternoon. But I'll probably be too busy on Sundays to meet with anybody. But, if y'all want to catch up with me on Saturday or any other days during the week while I'm working the press down there, if you want to come help work press, y'all all know how to get in touch with me. If you're close enough to me, you got my phone number. And if you just want to get involved and you know me pretty well, you've got my email. So either way, you can get in touch with me like that. I'm not giving my email out over there. Well, I've got 2 emails that I primarily use. The iCar email, everybody and mama should have. My other email, some people have. It's just how it goes. But we're going to be talking about a lot of weird different things tonight and stuff that's been going on. And just generally, if somebody sent me a thing about the volcano from last year in 2021 about how every time we seem to have a volcano, we have UFO activity. But those 2 blue orbs may not have necessarily been UFOs. They could have just easily been drones. Okay, people, we have high temperature drones now. They can get very close to volcanoes. Much not like the old days where, the damn things would fall out the sky and melt. It's a whole different realm now. So you've got to be more careful today than you did, say, 20 or 30 years ago. Drones make up a lot of UFOs today. I get a lot of calls and a lot of people send me pictures that are drones. And drones make good UFOs. Matter of fact, there's a lot of people out there that have built UFOs around drones so that they look authentic. But they're really not. So be really careful when you just assume something's alien. UFO just means unidentified flying object. So when it comes down to that, there's a lot of things out there that's hard to identify, just like these 2 orbs. But just because they're blue orbs don't mean they're alien. Just because they're hanging out around a volcano also don't mean they're alien. Now, if they were flying down into the volcano and coming back out, that would be a whole different thing. We don't have anything right now that does that. At least nothing I know of. I'm not going to rule it out, but at least nothing I know of right now can fly down into molten lava volcano and then fly back out intact and go on about its business. So, yeah, if you see something doing like that, it's more than likely an extraterrestrial. What do you mean a Russian? Russian, what a dumbass. Yeah, I know. How come we're not seeing more UFOs? In the old days, UFOs used to flock around. UFOs used to seem to see them anymore like we used to. It doesn't seem to be the same thing anymore. I don't know why. I'm not privy to that information, but I really don't know why the aliens in this case really, really didn't want to be involved. They don't seem to be any UFOs being sighted in the Ukraine, and there's a lot of stuff going on. Come on, there's a lot of media there, and it's not just the media there. There's a lot of people over there with running drones and running cameras. We just know one of the Fox crews got killed. And the journalist himself is in critical condition. So, there's a lot being going over there. And we see daily broadcasts from there from all sorts of people. So it's not like they can't get a signal out. So what is it? All of a sudden, maybe our technology's gotten more sophisticated and the UFOs are scared. I don't think that's what it is. I really don't. I have no idea why myself we're not seeing them. I really am. It really does bother me because it is something that we tend to see a lot of. We tend to see a lot of UFOs flying around war sites, but not so much. World War II, that's all we ever heard of was the Foo Fighters were everywhere. They were being seen everywhere. But for some reason or another, no one could ever figure out what they were. And still look. So the World War ended in 1945, so that's what, 55, 75, 77 years later, and still no one knows what they were. So we're well beyond the point of where it could have been released if it was a security thing or something that the Americans had come up with. But with the exception of drones, there really isn't anything today that can repeat what those things did in World War II. And even the drones can't really repeat that. We don't have drones that can fly way over Mach 10, Mach 15, and do loop-to-loops around aircraft. We just don't have that yet. We got drones that can get up close to aircraft, probably even fly loop-to-loops around them. But we don't have anything like that yet. You mean drone fighters? We probably have drone fighters. I wouldn't rule that out. We have drone everything these days. Well, it's easier to fight a war when nobody dies, at least on our side. But still, why haven't we seen? I haven't even seen or heard of a bunch of UFOs over Europe. It seems like, and you're not getting much out of Russia right now, so I don't know what kind of information you're getting out of Russia right now, but it doesn't seem like there's any. It seems like the UFO activity in Europe has gone down since the war started, and it doesn't seem to be many aliens interested in the Ukraine or Russia, I should say. So, but come to think about it, if you go all the way back to Desert Storm, when Storm and Norman was running the Iraqi war, there was quite a few UFOs reported, at least a dozen or more, just in the first 3 or 4 months of the war. After that, there even seemed to be more as it went along. Maybe that was new projects. Maybe it was new types of drones we were trying that we use nowadays. You see, that's what I'm saying. You can't rule out things like that just because we can't explain them. I mean, there's a lot of weird stuff goes on in our skies, a lot of weird stuff going on, but there doesn't seem to be that much. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe since all the Ukrainians are armed with these, these mobile rocket launches, maybe the UFO scared they're going to get shot at. But still, even that, I don't think would worry them. I mean, really, something like that, I would think they could take down or knock down out of the sky, or the UFO itself could knock it down. I just don't see that being a great worry for an extraterrestrial craft. Again, I could be wrong. Unless it's some back-asswards aircraft we've never heard of, I just don't see them being worried about the Ukrainian weapons or the Russian weapons for that matter. They sure weren't worried about any of the weapons in Desert Storm, and those are probably more advanced than what's being used right now. So you kind of got to wonder, what's the give? What's the trick? Why haven't we seen anything? Why have we not seen anything? It would be a better question. Hold on, guys. Hold on. I can't. If you come in the UFO chat room, or if you come in the chat room for the YouTube or Facebook, I can see you in here. When y'all are hitting me up on LinkedIn, I forgot about that, by the way. Ladies and gentlemen, I just reopened my LinkedIn page today, so I apologize for anyone I have ignored or not talked to. I haven't touched it in about 4 or 5 months. I've been really busy. So I actually couldn't even remember the code today. I had to get a new code to it. But I opened it up. Eventually, we're going to make it part of this StreamYard group so that it can be broadcasted on. Matter of fact, I'm going to have to get with Laura Lee and ask her how the hell she does it, because I have not a clue how you get to stream on LinkedIn. But we'd like to get it started streaming on LinkedIn and use it as well. But anyway, I just got LinkedIn back open, so you can message me there on LinkedIn as well. But let's try to stick to either the chat rooms or Messenger. How's that? Facebook Messenger. Well, Facebook and Instagram is the same damn messenger. At least for me, it is. Even my phone goes there. Mm-hmm. Kimberly, to answer your question, I'll be working press at the Writers of the Future Awards in Los Angeles for the week. Well, I'm putting up the stuff from last year. You can go see it. It's on uprnradio.com. I've got about 12 of the interviews up. I got about 12 more of the interviews I'm going to post up in the next coming days. Hey, Zoe. But I'm going to post some more of those interviews. Now, these are all interviews with people who may be famous in the future. I say maybe because there was 24 writers and 24 artists that had all won. Well, they weren't all there, but most of them were. That had all won awards in 20 and 21. So I got to interview quite a few of them. A lot of these stories are really good. A lot of these people are definitely future sci-fi writers and future artists and sci-fi and other things for that matter. Digital art and stuff like that. So you'll probably see a lot of their work in the future. And to me, it's nice. First off, I get to meet these people who may be famous writers in the future. At least, some of them will make it. Some of them will definitely get stuff published in writing and authors, but a lot of them may get stuff published in the television or the video world or the TV world. And remember, TV is different now. when you were just going for the networks, it was hard to get a series going. But now, come on, we have the internet. Screwed regular. I don't even have cable TV anymore. I got rid of it. I got more television stations than cable could ever offer. I mean, I got everything cable. I have everything I had on cable. I have either through Vizio or Roku, plus another 4,000 or 5,000 on top of it. It's ridiculous the amount of TV they have. And then the paid stuff I have. I mean, I have HBO and Cinema. Well, it's HBO and Showtime and Disney Plus and Hulu and Netflix and Prime. And still that only comes up to about $60 compared to the $400 cable bill I used to have. And that's not even including the internet, which was internet's a little expensive, but for here it's because it's for the station. But still, it's crazy. Christopher. No, that's where I'll be. I'll be there all week. Y'all can stop by and see me. I'm pretty sure they're going to do it at the Roosevelt Hotel. That's where they usually do it. If it changes, I'll post it. But, well, it depends what time you show up at the Roosevelt. Sometimes they just let anybody in. It's after I think 7 or 8 o'clock. You got to know somebody in the hotel to come in, unless it's like they're doing something special or something. Yeah, well, they protect their guests, Yes. So you've been there before. Okay, I got you, Josh. Yeah, you're right. It's not cheap. Last time I bought a White Russian there last year, it was $20 plus the tip, so $21. Yeah, for White Russian. Yeah, come on, $21. I go get some. Anyway, we're not even going to go there. Oh, thank you. That's in my studio. There's all kind of stuff in there. Just mismatched. We've got all the great philosophers' books right here, and of course you can see the skull. I actually can't see the skull because the mic's in the way, but there he is. It's also a Battle Crown hidden up there from Riders of the Future last year's event. I know. This was sent to me by. This is Battlefield Earth. This was a rendition done. This is the 89th one done. It's definitely a collector's item. It's quite expensive. It was very nice. This is just a local picture of the swamp, a steamship run aground, just kind of melting away. This was an award that we gave to L. Ron Hubbard on his birthday, which was March 13th. And then just other stuff. This is back here is, Alpha, Foxtrot, Charlie. That's all behind me. And there's other stuff back there too. Y'all can't see, but it's a great setup, and I enjoyed it. People get to see some of the stuff that I like, other than, just. I could do a green screen like everybody else does, but I figure why? I got a lot of great art back there, and there's other stuff in the studio you can't even see. I set up the studio so if any angle I'm sitting in, if I want to do a show, there's something nice behind me or something cute behind me or decent. And thanks for noticing, Zoe. Jimmy. Oh, Jimmy Reed. Sorry, yeah, I know who you are. Sorry. I'm gonna go. I'll be back doing full-time interviews starting with the show today. Yes, sir. I'll be back full time. Well, it's been busy. I mean, like I said, I've been busy at work, and we slowed down a little bit, and we're changing the way we lay out stuff so that we can, so I can actually do more of what I want to do. I like doing radio, and when I'm doing it full time, I actually make decent money at it. But when I'm doing other stuff and doing it part time, no, because I'm not posting as many archives. I've got. On some of my sites, I've got up to 10,000 archives out there. It's over 20,000 hours of research. More than that. It's probably closer to 25,000 hours because a lot of those shows are 3 hours. I mean, it's crazy amount of research, and that's just a tip of the iceberg. I've got probably another 80 or 90,000 on my computer. At one time we had up almost 100,000 videos, but we took them down. Yeah, now we're putting them back up again, slowly but surely. It takes some time. It definitely takes some time to get them up. My favorite UFO sighting. Ooh, I don't know. That's a tough one. Let's see. We've got the one in New York, where the ambassador and the two CIA service guys seen him taking a woman out the building. That was interesting. We got the Mexico City sighting where over 1 million people saw it and lasted for almost 24 hours. We've got the Phoenix, Arizona sighting, which was a good sighting. It was a few hours long, and quite a few people saw it. So, I mean, those are all great. I don't know. I mean, there's other ones out there besides that. Personal sightings? Oh, that's different. Personal sightings would probably have to be in Navarre Beach, Florida. We've seen some hairy, scary stuff down there. We've seen stuff on the ground. We've seen stuff in the skies. And what's great about we've brought groups down there and saw it. Yeah, it wasn't just us. I mean, my wife and I have gone down there and seen some really crazy stuff down there and been exposed to some crazy stuff down there. But we've actually brought groups. The biggest group we ever brought, I think, was 15 or 16 people, and they all saw something, everybody. And then we brought a group right after that with about 8 or 9 people, and we actually watched abductions happen on the beach. All of us, the whole group did. It's very strange. Hold on, let me take a sip of this. It got by the media and by the ufology, it got marked as this surfing aliens, which was my bad. So we're all sitting in this tent thing on the beach that we brought with us, and there's people all around us. I mean, this is midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. This is right outside of Pensacola Beach. It's between Pensacola and Navarre Beach. There's a beautiful park out there, and it's a great place to go hang out. And hold on, Trish, I'll bring you up a sec. And it was just a great place to go hang out. So we knew there was a lot of activity there. So what we did is we brought about 5 or 6 or 7. I think it was 7 or 8 people with us. And we were sitting in this tent watching. Like I said, it was people all around us doing all sorts of things that y'all don't want to know about. Trust me. I mean, I'm not kidding you. There was things going on that y'all don't want to know about. So we're sitting there for a while, and it started getting quieter. And everybody was settling down, pairing up, or doing whatever they were doing on the beach. And then you seen way out 75, 80 yards out in the water, you seen what looked to be like little spots of white light opening up and then closing. And then you notice as it got closer, you seen a gray who was 5, 6 feet tall. He seemed to be hovering on top of the wave, and it was making like a white cap on top of the wave. So it looked, we said it looked like he was surfing the wave. They weren't actually touching the wave though. They were definitely, air was above it. They came all the way in. They started taking people. And at first people were very like, and then everybody just kind of, like the whole area just calmed down at one time. It was really weird. I don't know what the hell he did. And they took all these people, and then you couldn't find anybody on the beach. We must have walked 3 miles in each direction. Nobody. And there's cars in all the parking lots. Nobody to be seen. This is how we found out about these places. I'll tell you that in a minute. But so we sat there for a while, and we freaked out because we're the only ones left. And we really freaked out because we didn't get taken. Was more of the thing. It almost was like it was almost like a thing sent to us, or just a thing for the people who were sitting there just to witness this, to know this was real. And then I don't know, I was say about 3 hours passed, 4 hours passed, and then all of a sudden they were back, and they were just setting people down all around us, and they were gone that fast. And it was weird. Well, the way we stumbled on this, we used to do research all up and down Navarre Beach. Well, we used to go and hit these places. So there was always cars parked in all these rest areas on this, and this is a national park, so or a state park. So there's always cars parked in these rest areas. So we go out on the beaches, you'd see people out there going, and then sometimes around 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock, we couldn't find anybody anywhere. We'd go all up and down this 15-mile stretch of beach, couldn't find a person anywhere. And then you'd come back like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, you'd see people like stretching their arms in their cars or stretching. I don't know where the hell they came from. They weren't there just 5 minutes ago. So we witnessed this several occasions. So that's what made us realize that not only were they doing abductions down there, but they were doing mass abductions down there. And then we also found out, because of 9 days we lost down there a long time ago, that they pull people to the area so that they can take people in groups. And lots of people go down. It's a popular place to go. People spend lots of time there, and I cannot tell you how many people I've talked to now that cannot account for their vacation. They didn't spend any money on their credit cards. Their car still had gas in it. There was no food bills, but yet they were there for 7 or 8 days. No one seen them come and go out their hotel, but yet they were there for 7 or 8 days. It's crazy stuff. Makes you go, what the hell, man? But anyway, hello, Trish. How are you? But she got her mic off. Hello, Trish. How are you?
I'm good. Sorry.
I'm glad you're good.
There's probably a really big glare here.
No, yeah, you look good. Actually, I don't see any light.
Here.
Yeah, it's not glaring out. I think the picture on top of you makes it stop, or maybe that's just a UFO on top of you makes it stop. Okay, never mind. If I'm looking at the picture, I'm talking about this glare up here. That's not from her. That's actually from the picture.
I'm glitching already.
No glitching allowed. Hey, I hear one of my puppies over there.
Oh, my puppy.
It's,
Yeah.
he's the warning. He's saying the gray is here. It's the automatic gray warning, people. Sooner or later, mine say, "Oh, that's right. They can't hear. My speakers are off." See, mine would have heard that. Would have been a quartet going after that. They'd have been singing to each other. They would have definitely been swinging.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. Don't worry about that. Mine do it all the time. My two that passed, Charlie, he thought he was supposed to be on the radio. He'd come get up here and stand up, put his chest out, howl at the radio and shit. I'm like, "What are you doing, dog?" And Max, he'd just come get up and lay on top of the keyboard like a cat and said, "I'm here. I'm here
comes
for the
on
TV."
a lot, especially when it was interesting last night on Chasing Prophecy. It's interesting because Thor is a Bengal, so he's from Egypt. You know, they were crossbred from Egypt originally, and we were talking about the Egyptian history. So that's one of the few that he's ever came and sat on my lap.
He's like, "Hey, you're talking about my ancestors. Let's
Yep.
have a chit chat here." Yeah, well, dogs are weird and they're very perceptive. They're really good with moods. At least most dogs. I can't speak for all dogs, but most of the ones I've ever seen are very perceptive of their owners. Mine always know what kind of mood I'm in, so they're either on my ass or staying away from me, whichever comes first. They're supposed to know about the radio. They're learning about the radio. Let's put it that way. But see, my other two, they always knew. After a year or two, they would know what time I was going to be on. They'd come lay by the door and look at me like, "Are you off right here yet, Dad? Can we bark?"
Do you think that have your dogs ever been affected by extraterrestrials?
These two, I don't know, because these are very young. I mean, Lola's only 9 months, so it would be very limited experience. Fiona's a little older. She's about 2.5 years, 3 years. But Charlie and Max, Charlie would get this thing where he'd go stand and look in the corner. He'd back up. He'd go all the way to the corner, and he would back off the corner like 2 feet and just stare at it. And I'm like, "What the hell are you looking at?" And then he'd see something else, and you could see he'd cut his eyes like he saw something move. I didn't see anything moving, by the way. Obviously, he saw something moving. And then sometimes the little one would just start growling at shit. And I'm like, "What are you growling at, dog?" And he'd just start growling. I mean, he'd get furiously mad. And so I'm imagining they react to it faster than we do. Or that maybe the zones, they block themselves out, and maybe the dogs don't see them, but they definitely know they're there. They can sense them. Because I had a good friend of mine.
So in cats, I was never a cat person until that's a whole other story. This house I lived in New York. But I, of course, adopted this cat named Lucy on Friday the 13th. She totally found me. I was not a cat person. I was bitten by a cat when I was little. And so she found me. It was weird how, everything happens for reasons. So just some random, I think this was back during, she's pretty old now. So Craigslist ad or something popped up of somebody giving away a free cat that they had gotten at the Humane Society. So she was already, she was like 2 years old at the time. She had already been fixed and everything. And when I rescued her and she came home with me to that house, which was incredibly haunted and everything else. First of all, she hissed at me for forever, and she hid for the first 2 weeks. But after that, she was the best. She became like the John Wick cat, man. She's the sweetest girl, but she's like a secret ninja. I tell you, she's.
I'm telling my Himalayan was like that. He was vicious.
Because they see in they have ultraviolet lens. They see in different color refraction. So when it comes to spirits and aliens and things like this that are in other dimensions that the human eye can't see, cats can see that.
Yeah, it's strange. That Himalayan I had, he was about 20 pounds. The only one who could actually like brush him or blow dry him was my wife. Everybody else he'd try to kill. He would. Oh man, look. I remember my stepdaughter was pregnant. He used to get on the refrigerator, wouldn't let her in the kitchen at night. He's like, "Yeah, it's my kitchen." And a good friend, and my wife's good friend Meg used to throw her hair over the back of the chair and start rocking. He would just and leap on it and just hang now. He'd cat was insane. He was insane. He's a big cat, though. He's insane, but he was very sensitive to a lot of things. But there was always so much noise in that house, though. No telling what was bothering, wasn't bothering. And that place, we were in Fat City at the time, which was party central of the suburbs of New Orleans. So there was a lot always going on. And then he didn't like being outside. He's a big old cat. He got outside one day. Somebody slipped out the door somehow. I come back home like 5 hours later. He's by the door. He didn't even go anywhere. He's like, this is my house. This is where I want to live. Other cats I had, they're out of here. My son's cat, it likes being outside. It's like, I'm out of here. I don't want to be with by you stupid humans. He's like, let me get away from here. But most animals I find are sensitive to things like that. As a friend of ours used to tell me all the time, they used to take a dog. I said, why do you take your dog? But then I realized if you get taken when you're on a trip or in your car or somewhere that you're not at your house, I guess they have to take your dog. Because if something happens to your dog, you're not going to forget it. It'll stay in the back of your head, or any animal for that matter. So for the most part, I would imagine what they do is probably knock them out. Somewhere along the line, they must, because any especially a big dog, it sees something happen to its human, it's going to lose its mind. It's going to be like, excuse me, great
That
alien.
happened when I was driving once with my dog. Actually, I had all my animals with me, and something started communicating with me, telepathically. And here's all 3 of my animals in the back start growling and going crazy.
Yeah, they're very sensitive. Yeah,
and I'm like, uh-oh.
So
and then all of a sudden, they're all passed out asleep in my back seat. And whatever did that, I was like, great. And they're like, well, they said whatever was communicating with me was kind of, a smart aleck. So because they made a comment about that. It said something about it's a little quieter now, can't have the distractions or something like that.
Yeah, they knock them out. It's a shame they do, but I mean, I guess they have to. People, especially people with big dogs, Rottweilers and Shepherds and Dobies and stuff like that, they would have no problem gnawing on a little 3-foot Gray's arm, man. Be like, and then I'm sure
my big dog also has one time, and I mean, my memory from it was she was in her kennel this was when she was younger, but I had left the house or something, and she was in her kennel, and I came home and she had this cut on her paw, and it was almost like through the muscle down to the bone, crazy injury. I had no idea if she was in there the entire time, but it was almost like a laser incision. And so I had no idea how she got it because she had been in her kennel, and it took a while to heal. And she, right after that was when I was at work one day, and as far as my memory went on that incident, that I broke my wrist. And when I got x-rays is when an implant in the same hand that it showed up on in an x-ray also was the same leg that was my dog's.
That's weird.
So I was like, did they put an implant in her too?
You never know about that. But you got to watch implants. Usually if it's an implant, and they might have, because government likes to do implants.
Right. And that would have been, the dog, they wouldn't have healed it. That's why
they would just put an implant in there and said, hey.
Right.
And, I try to explain this to contactees and abductees all the time. I said, when you have a mark and it's not a completely healed mark, odds are it's from the government. It's not from ET. Because ET don't even have to leave a scar. People say, what a 3-point triangles. No, ET don't have to leave that. There's no need for that. They have the ability, it's like Star Trek. They have like dermal regenerators. They can just regenerate the skin. They don't have to leave any sign of anything whatsoever. No scars, no marks, no redness, no nothing if they don't want to. Every now and then, for some reason, they leave bruises on people's arms. And you can tell a difference between if it's like somebody in the military or if it's, especially the Greys. Greys, when they grab somebody, the bruise is like about this long and about this narrow. It's not like, see, if I grab somebody, they're going to be kind of round, they're going to be ground about this big around, and I got pretty big hands. And so if I grabbed you like this, it would leave those marks of my fingertips on there. The Gray's fingertip is like this long. It's different. Their fingers are longer than ours. They're first off, you're missing. They're missing this. You can't tell because their hands are together, but they're missing one of the fingers that we don't have. They do have a thumb for most of them, by the way.
I think it depends on the person, though, if they leave bruises, because I've
it does.
studied a lot on, a person that has thinner blood, any type of interdimensional, anything, travel or anything, it does something to your blood. So I think that would, some of the bruises probably don't show up until if a person bruises easily. I would assume it would be easy.
Oh yeah, and you can tell with the people who bruise easy because there'll be way more bruises on them. But you got to wonder why the Greys leave them behind, because they don't have to. They could just and they would be gone. I know why the government does. They don't have a choice. There's no way for them to get rid of them. They're not quite to that technological level yet.
I also think, in a lot of haunted places and stuff, dealing with spirits. I'm more of a historical medium, so I try to. I don't like lowering my vibration for the demonic type entities and stuff as much, because that's draining to a medium. So, but a lot of those places that are haunted and stuff, these things that are mimicking demons or things like that, a lot of times I think those are greys, because every time you always see this small almost like a 3-fingered scratch is like a trademark of these sites that have, and I always think
and Greys do have they don't have fingernails, and they're not exactly claws, but they do have, I guess it's like a ridge that comes out at the tip, and only on 3 of them too.
Yeah,
it's these 3 right here, and there's a ridge.
And it's always that signature 3-fingered scratch on these people.
And if they can get you, if they grab you like this and you pull, it's going to leave a scratch. Again, though, they don't have to, so you got to wonder why they do that. I think a lot of times they leave the marks and stuff like that so you know something happened. Because a lot of people, first thing most people do on the planet is instantly try to do away with whatever the experience is. Try to talk it away. Oh, no, that's not what happened. This, that, or the other thing. They try to make it rational when there's no rational explanation for it. But they still, because people are weird and they don't want to think that weird things are happening to them, so they try to explain it away. But I think just like UFOs, I think that's what UFOs are actually for, or sightings, I should say, or more for letting people know, hey, look, we're here. We just took you. We just put you back. We just wanted you to remember something happened to your dumb ass. Because again, humans are going to try to say, oh, it was a fraction of light. It was Venus. It was this. And sometimes it is actually that. But in a lot of cases, it's not. A lot of cases, you just got taken or you just got put back. And they want you to remember because for some reason you showed an interest when you were on board the ship. But when you got off, instantly your brain went back in panic mode and tried to start explaining it away. So, and this is something we learned a long time ago. ET will not let you remember more than you can handle. So when a lot of people just are BSing to start off with, because like them people last night were bothering me. I had to leave or I was going to get in trouble. Jenny was going to hurt me. she was going to, there was some stuff in there and there was some stuff in there I know they got from me, which bothered me even worse. But still, they were going just in some directions. I was like, okay, maybe we should move on.
I think that, like, especially with stuff like that, I wonder if it's easier for people, you always say people who are interested in like all the sci-fi movies and comic books and things like that are more drawn to, or are more, do you think people like that are more, I wouldn't say prone to, because that's not how abductees
work, but you got a good point. I know what you're saying, and you got a good point. So something we learned, and this is up on one of the websites. I think it's an iCar website. So we figured something out strange. This goes back to what you were just talking about. So people who are drawn to things like the paranormal, ghosts, demons, or people who are drawn to dragons and just mystical stuff in gym, or even some of the darker arts, or even some of the whiter arts, tend to be contactees, or I should say abductees, because they don't realize it. But the reason why is, so this is like a stage for everybody who's a contactee. So they start out, they get taken. The first thing they do is they're either in God or they look at God. Explanation's not enough. So some of them will go into the darker arts, and that's a little too scary for them. So they'll switch over to the lighter arts, and that helps people contact these, because when you're a witch or whatever you want to call it, different people call themselves, this is, you use things to help you get things done, whether it's an amulet, a spell, something designed in here. Well, abductees don't actually need that. The abilities are all built into us. We can use them without anything, but the problem is we weren't taught that as a child. So we need things to help us to realize we have these abilities, and things like spells. When the first time you use a wand and something works for you, you're like, "Whoa, shit!" Well, you don't actually need the wand, but still, it helps you to do it. So use it. It's like tarot cards. I designed a really advanced tarot card. A couple of us did. It's really one of these. I'll make it public for everybody. And I realized about 8 years into reading, maybe 10 years into reading, that I didn't need the cards anymore. I was actually more accurate without the cards. Yeah. And I was like, well, this is some shit here. And then I started seeing people's lives 5, 10, 15 years. And it was really weird the way it happened. I'd be talking to an individual, and all of a sudden I just get like the whole thing of their life. And I can't tell you if it's a visual or audio. It's just there is all I can say. It's just in my damn head. So when it gets in my head, I just tell them whatever it is. And so far, it's been very, 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 very accurate. But in the very beginning, just like everybody else, I needed a crutch until I learned that the abilities were built in. And today, I use empathic abilities all the time. I use them for doing bids. I use them for getting jobs. I use them for doing radio stuff. I use it for all sorts of stuff because now I understand that I have it and how it works. And it does save my ass on many. It actually gets me more money a lot of times than I would normally get because I can feel how far I can push an individual. So if I'm talking to someone and I'm talking prices and we're just throwing prices around, and all of a sudden I get this, oh my God, back to me, then I know, okay, we've gone beyond what the customer can handle. So then I can back myself up to right at the edge to where they're handling and where I'm happy. It works out real well, people. And it's one of the nice things about having empathic abilities. And we don't consider anyone an alien abductee or a contactee if they're not at least empathic. We expect them to be empathic and telepathic. Most when I say telepathic, though, most of the people I know can't control it in any shape, form, or fashion. But hey, it works. Sometimes they get angry and they'll send something out, or they're happy and they'll send something out, or they'll feel something. And but that also helps you if you pay attention, and you feel that and you know what happens. You can do it. So it's one of the reasons I don't pick on people who are into magic, because I was there at one time. I mean, I studied with Crowley's grandson, and my wife studied with Gavin and Yvonne. We were some pretty heavy hitters, but.
I think as far as, what started happening with me, as far as the pagan side of it and why I went that route is because
it's a good route to go, learn.
No, it came to me naturally, but all of these, I got Lyme disease and I was really sick, and I was dying. And so in that situation, working with other elements, plants and water and things like that absolutely helped me, because I, at that time, absolutely didn't have the strength myself without the outside help of other elements, to do it myself. And so all of these different, gods and goddesses and all kinds of things, even plants and what they were used for, that I had never heard of in my entire life, that I had never studied, that I had never, started coming into my life. And so that was interesting to me. It wasn't about spell work or anything else. Now, I 100% believe in those instances when to raise your vibration, or if you're sick or things like that, all spells are an affirmation, basically. And so when I'm trying to improve my self-discipline or reach a goal, things like that, especially when it has to do with fitness or business related, being an entrepreneur, I absolutely have these affirmations and things like that, which some people might consider a spell, but that's no different than people, like Christians praying, things like that. That's an affirmation. You're putting that energy out there into the world. It's the same as a thought, being positive or negative, to help with whatever. And you're right. Yes, essentially it is just confirming what you're trying to, tell your subconscious.
See, in that I was lucky, because my grandmother was very religious, but she was also into the cards and a lot of other things. So, and she, her and my mom used to drive me crazy. The phone would ring. They knew who it was every time. Somebody knocked on the door. They knew who it was every time. Mm-hmm. Oh, and I'd say something. Oh, no, that's not where you were. I'm like, that's where I was. Oh, no, that was not. Are you going to tell me the truth now? And I was like, no. And then my grandma, do you know you're lying? And I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Yes.
And you couldn't lie to any of them.
This is why I'm single. I mean, seriously, because
Because it makes it hard. And then it's like my wife, sometimes we'll be driving along. She just start telling me, I'm like, get out of my fucking head. She just gets up in there. I'm like, get out. Eviction. Zoe, to answer your question, implants are used for a lot of things by the government, especially. They use them mainly to track us and monitor us, to know where we are, to what we're up to, keeping it back. But the tracking device they put in us is not so much to know that Trish is at home. It's to know when they take Trish, when she goes off the screen. So what happens is when you get taken and you have a government implant, the implant goes dead. They know you've been taken. So it's a good chance when they put your ass back, if you got any knowledge, you're going to probably come mill at you. It's just one of them things. It's one of the reasons when I meet abductees and contactees for the first time, not on air or on the radio or on the internet, I always tell them the same thing. Be sure you want to come out. I said, because if you come out and you have interesting knowledge, it's a 90% chance you're going to get mill-apped. Because they're looking like just we are. People think the government knows everything. The government does not know everything. ET's not sharing any more with them than they share with any of the rest of us. They don't look. Do you think they trust Putin? Give me a break. He's over there storming around. You think if he didn't have alien technology, he wouldn't be freaking using it? He's getting his ass kicked in the Ukraine. Same thing with us. If we had alien technology, you wouldn't think we'd be using it. And there's a way to know where the world is on telepathic ability. So empathically, we're probably 25 or 30%. Telepathically, maybe 15%. Telekinesis, it's got to be less than 1.0% or something, because, and I can tell you why, because no president or no leader has just dropped dead from an aneurysm or a heart attack in the blue. Because just think if Trump would have had access to someone who could just squeeze an artery in your head and kill you, or squeeze an artery in your chest and kill you with nothing left behind it. It would look completely natural. I can tell you, Hillary would have been dead. Angela Merkel would have been dead. Putin would have been dead. Xi Jinping would have been. There have been a lot of people dropped dead in them 4 years. But it doesn't happen. And people tell me, oh, that's because they can shield it. No, it's not because they can shield it, because any really good telekinesis could go past a telepath. That means their abilities would be that much better. If you're going to have telekinesis, you've already maxed out your telepathy. You'll have to be, with the empathic and telepathic abilities, will have to be way up to scale for you to even understand how to work it. I've only ever met very few people that could do it, and it's usually mostly limited. Go ahead, Trish.
Oh, I was going to say on that note, I think that's why because I've met people that have amazing abilities, and they have no idea the extent of what their abilities could be. But I think that's why on those specific cases, they don't let those ones, remember things ever, because if they remembered what they could do or what they were capable of, yeah, they'd probably, I don't know. Who knows what destruction could come of that? You know what I mean? Not even intentionally.
Yeah. See, well, that's the thing. So many people have no idea what gifts they got or how to use them, and that's what makes it more dangerous. Because if somebody has a conniption fit and don't realize it, they could accidentally do some serious damage. So I have no idea what's going on with that. We're moving that way slowly but surely. In another 500,000 years, a good chunk of this planet will be telepathic, but. People ask me all the time, or people tell me all the time, everybody's got it. I'm like, really? Prove it to me. And they're like, no, Joe, you're wrong. I said, I'll prove it to me. I said, because I can prove to you they don't have it. So prove to me that they do. And the way you can prove this is easy, people. Anybody can do this. And this makes people really crazy when I do this. But you can go to any mall, or anywhere for that matter, bring just 2 cards with you, blue and a red, a yellow and a green. Doesn't matter what color they are. And just tell people we're checking for psychic abilities. Now, you'll be surprised how many people will stop to see if they got psychic abilities. And you look at them and you put the 2 cards down and say, left and right, which one's which? Now, this is a 50-50 chance you're going to get this right. Remember this, people. Red, and if you get the right one right, the left one's automatically right. All right? So if you get the red one, the yellow one's on the other card. Less than 50% of the people even get 1 card right. Less than 50%. And what we do is when somebody gets them right like 2 or 3 times, then we'll add 4 or 5 more cards. And then if they can go through the cards, then you got at least a decent telepath. But most people, it's like flipping a coin. They tell you all the time, if you flip a coin and you call it heads or tails, you should get it the right 50% of the time. But believe it or not, the majority of people won't even get it right 50-50. They'll get it more like 40-60 or 30-70. Figure that one out. It's just the way things tend to work in our universe. So that tells you right there that these people have no abilities. Because even if they had a latent ability, they'd get it right at least 50-50. They had, a decent ability, a decent latent ability, they'd get it right 60-40, but they're not. And it's rare, but we find probably 1 in every 1,000, 1,500 people have any reasonable ability worth talking about. But that's another thing too. If someone did have a decent ability when they were a kid and it was beat down in them all their life, it's more than likely suppressed now. So it wouldn't show anyway. It's a damned if you do, damned if you don't. Yeah. So it takes a while for it to come back out. And like I said, I was lucky my family was actually more open about that. And
even when you do figure it out, you have to, it's still something like anything else that has to be, it's like learning how to talk or anything, you walk, anything, you still have to use it, utilize it and work on it. It's like a muscle, if you don't.
Yeah, it's true. You do. You need to use it. The more you use it, the easier it becomes, the more accurate it becomes, the more you understand. And I remember I met a friend of mine, Zuby. This chick has got to be one of the most psychic people I've ever met. And she tries to tell you that. She's a doctor, so she tries to keep it off. We met her when she came into the chat rooms, and we were actually doing psychic tests. That's what she came in for. And we were talking, and we started out with simple 2-card color. And, to make it fair to her, we'd let somebody else in the group know what colors we were picking so that if, we couldn't say she was wrong or right, there would be his backup. So she was getting the cards. We put 5 out. She got all 5 of them right. So I sent a paragraph. Before the paragraph got to the guy I was texting it to, she was reading it to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, she was very psychic. She still is too. And, but she tries to keep it turned off because she said, I don't like it when I'm talking with a patient and I know they're lying to me. It irritates me. And she said, and I don't want to say anything because, I'm not supposed to. And she said, some of it's just from being a doctor for so long, but some of it's just because I can tell they're freaking lying to me. And I can understand why it would aggravate her. But she was really gifted.
Probably one of the hardest things that once I actually, it was probably after my last near-death experience, actually, that mine was so much more enhanced because it's like your brain, is reset almost like a newborn, so you don't have all the trash you collected in your lifetime. So, so after that happened, it was hard for me to be around people. I mean, not just friends and family and relationships and things like that, but just anybody, because nowadays, people lie a lot, even about things that are irrelevant.
Yeah, stupid.
And it's really hard to, and just to not, because what are you going to go around doing, calling everyone a liar? Well, then you really don't have any friends. You know what I mean? And plus, not to mention, people don't like those of us that are completely blunt and honest anyways. So because I don't,
that's true too.
So
yes, that used to get me in trouble when I was young, man.
Yes, it gets me in trouble a lot. But it's hard to, which is interesting. Which is when I went into hypnotherapy, that's different because your higher conscious, subconscious, unconscious, whatever people want to call it doesn't lie. And it's the same thing with many spirits, I've learned, because their spirits are free. Like, they have no reason to lie once they're dead. You know what I mean? So I think I found comfort in that. And that actually enhanced my mediumship much more, as well as being a hypnotherapist, because that was the honest parts of people.
Yeah, it used to get me in trouble all the damn time. I'd meet people and they'd be telling me something. I'd look at them, you've been lying to me. They're like, no, I'm not Senora, stop lying to me. Or, knowing someone's intentions before they even get to open their mouth up.
Yes.
That gets me in trouble all the time.
That's a big one, too.
That still gets me in trouble. I'll look at somebody and say, get out of here, I know what you want. Oh, you can't possibly. I say, I know what you want. You want me to tell you what you want? And they're like, how'd you know that? I'm like, yeah, that's how I knew that. And then, okay, well, leave me alone because it's not going to happen. It's it's just crazy stuff. Come here, you little demon.
And my facial expressions, like, even if I'm not saying what I already know, what I'm thinking, my facial expressions get me in trouble.
Mine do too.
I have such, I've got that RBF, and but if I have very animated facial expressions, so
I try when I'm on radio nowadays, especially since, see, in the old days it didn't matter because we didn't have video, so I could be making all kind of faces. Now I'm just kind of straight faced. One lady said, "You don't really express much emotion," and I don't want to tell her why, because I was thinking the whole time you're lying to me, but I'm not going to say nothing. Just gonna let you go ahead and talk. And it is kind of crazy. Bruce, no, really, no, the government does implant you. That's the way they track you. Yeah, the ETs can track you basically via your blood or whatever it is. Somehow or another, they can track you. I think there's a way they can keep a lock on your brain or your brain waves or something. They don't need fingerprints or any of that stuff. They know where you are. I know they know where their contactees are. And they don't need.
We all have like an energetic signature.
Yeah.
Almost like, I mean, if you think of DNA, yes, it's like that. But if you think in the whole, matrix system, we all have a specific, almost like a fingerprint, but it's our energy.
It is, and we all have a form of energy out there. I mean, I know if you've ever watched those people who take those aurora pictures, or whatever they call them. That ain't even what they call them. Well, yeah, it is what they call them.
Aura?
Yeah, aura pictures. I said aurora, didn't I? I said aura pictures, yeah.
It's like there's two different, yeah.
Yeah, it's entirely two different things, by the way, people. Just in case y'all didn't know. Aurora is the thing in the sky. Aura is the thing around you. Just so you know. A lot of people can some people can actually see them without the camera, but some people are very gifted when they take them with the camera, and they can tell you a lot. But I mean, if you can see it on the camera, I mean, you could probably work it out for yourself. I mean, if the thing comes out black, you might want to go get hospital checked in to see what's up. Different colors mean different things, but it's and I've seen a lot of them over the years. I was in Sedona for a while, and everybody and their mama took them down there. Let me take your raw picture. It's funny. I had 5 different people taking it, 5 different colors come up. And the lady said, "I wonder why that is." I said, "Because you catching me at whatever personality I happen to be using at the time."
I was here now. I'm in your head again because I was about, you're in mine, one of the two. I was about to say there are certain people that there's some people I when I've fasted and during certain moon phases and stuff in the Veil Center, I can see people's auras, but not all the time. But it's interesting because some people have the same color all the time, and that rarely fluctuates unless, something drastic changes in their lives. But then you see these people with like a rainbow type. I don't know how to explain it. Like it changes like a chameleon. Which is really interesting. And especially if someone can manipulate that, because your aura has to do obviously with your chakras, and your chakras are the energetic, have to do with everything, the way your body operates, all of your organs and everything. So it's interesting if a person is able to control that and manipulate it to benefit them and their health in a way, and to adjust depending on the energy they're around, is fascinating. It's very hard to do.
It is. It's a very strange thing to do. And it's hard to do. It's, because a lot of people don't realize it, but their personalities tend to change when they're with other people.
Uh-oh.
Somebody said hello. It's I'm gonna have to get on YouTube. YouTube's about to drive me to drinking. I can already tell. Them people over there are nuts. But it does. It makes a difference in your personalities, and when you're in a certain mood or a certain way, you may different colors may come up. It's not a sure plan that you're going to get the same color every time. Even though a friend of mine, every time he gets his done, it's always purple. I'm like, yeah. I said he's the most mellow person I know on the planet.
Purple's.
He's like, oh,
crown chakra. You have a lot of control over your emotions.
Yeah, he's he likes being purple too. I'm like, yeah, I bet you do. Hey Jay, what's up, babe? It's but it is weird how people change personalities and change colors. And I got one friend of mine. He picks on me all the time. I pick on him all the time, really. His wife's got like 40 of them. I'm like, dude, who's which one's there today? I'm not coming over. Such and such is there. He's like, oh man. But it's and it happens to everybody. It's male and female. It's not just a girl thing or a guy thing. It just happens. Ginger, wait, what? You mean the different colors? Actually, there's a guide on the internet for that tells you what aura colors are what. I mean, you can go by what you think about it. But still, there's a guide that'll basically give you a breakdown of it.
And you can actually, I've taught a lot of people to do it themselves. If you actually, you have to, you can start just, holding your hand out or something, but it has to be against something like a solid color that's not in the aura realm. So like, well, white's not really good, but like a gray or something. And there's ways you can focus and see your own aura.
It's yeah, I guess you could. Well, somebody said you can see them when you look in a mirror sometimes a certain way, or a certain type of piece of crystal you can see.
Mirrors.
I don't either, because mirrors reflect a lot of things. A lot of things get up in mirrors, so we just leave them alone.
Man, I tell people this all the time. I'm like, of all the things, even like paranormal investigators and stuff I meet all the time, it's funny to me that they don't think about this, because I'm like, oh yeah, I will not look in a public mirror, like in a public restroom or something. Oh no. I mean, eyes are the windows to the soul. So,
yeah. And it's a good friend of mine. He still does it. He considers himself a warlock, but he
I was just gonna say, yes, warlocks, they can leave energy on those things too.
Well, what he does is, anytime he gets a new mirror in his house, or when his old lady buys a new one, or whoever gets one, he goes and scratches the corner of the stuff off the back of it, so it's translucent, so it has whatever's in it has a way of escaping.
Yeah.
Besides going into you, it has another way out. I was like, well, that's interesting. I guess you could do that.
And this goes back, I mean, thousands of years as far as mirrors go. There's in every religion, culture, civilization, there's 8 fairy tales. You always have the magic mirror, and even people from 1800s that used to cover the mirrors during the plagues and stuff, if someone in the room was sick because they didn't want their soul getting trapped. There's reasons. There's a basis behind all of these stories. There's always some truth.
Yeah, there's always some truth to a lot of those stories. Well, it's like the guy who always talks about using an unbaptized baby boy's fat to learn how to fly. Guys, you can buy a drone for that now. You don't have to kill anybody. Just in case you didn't know. Yeah, it's an old witches. It's an old witches. Matter of fact, one of the witch shows used it a long time ago, and then they got in trouble for it. It came out of. We found this book from it was 1811. It was either 1711 or 18. It's a little red. It's about yay big, red book. It's a spell book. It's about, I think it was 300 years old. We got it, and it had some very interesting spells in it. And you could see people had used the book before. We actually got it from a library. I just gave them the money and took it. Yeah. And we didn't return it, so I just sent them the money for it. But you can see this book had been used and had been outlined, and people had drawn it and over it. And I'm thinking, they put a 300-year-old book where somebody could get their hands on it. Why wasn't it in a special collection? I don't even think they knew what they had. And because when you looked at it, I had peeled up the little library card goes. I'd peeled it up, and it actually had all the original information about the book in there. And I was like, well, what the hell is this? And where did this come from? Never had anybody's name in it who wrote it. Didn't have any name about who wrote it. It only had the original publishing company and nothing else. It's a very creepy book. And I got to say, most everything in it worked. So.
There's a movie about that. Discovery of Witches.
Yeah, I think Katrina got it, but it's I think I remember most of what was in it, though. But it was just. But it's one of those things that witches believe. What's meant to be or what you're meant to have will usually show up when you need it.
Absolutely.
And it sure the hell showed up out of nowhere when we needed it. I was like, well, that's an interesting thing to start off with. But could I find another one? I have no idea. Would I want to find another one? I have no idea. I'm not that mean anymore, people. I want to be zapping people into other dimensions. Nowadays, I just call the Grays up. Hey, Bob, how you been? Can you pick up such and such and teach them? Oh, sure, Joe, we'll do it for you this weekend. So, what can be more horrible? Why call a demon when I can call an alien? And getting back to what we were talking about, unfortunately, there is a lot of cross, for a long time, the two fields tried to keep separate each other. Paranormal, I shouldn't say paranormal, but ghosts and demons and versus aliens always tried to stay separate. But they couldn't because there's too much crossover. Matter of fact, yeah, fun, Jay. A matter of fact, you get like poltergeist. Man, I cannot tell you how many times you hear poltergeist activity in the UFO abduction. Now, maybe it's something else. Maybe it's not actually maybe it's not actually some kind of leftover energy from a demon or a ghost or something. But it's obviously something. I mean, it's stuff flying around the house, toys are running around on their own, things are breaking and shaking. It's typical poltergeist activity, but there just happens to be an alien abduction associated with it.
Well, I think in my own experience when that's happened, I started correlating it with, especially when I was younger. Yes, it happened around the times that I was taken. But I think after I got older and realized what was happening, because sometimes it would a lot of times it would be after I was taken. I didn't know any of this back then. I didn't realize any of it. I hadn't remembered, And I think it was a lot of poltergeist activity come from the person living in the house or whoever lives at that residence. So they found based on the energetic signatures of it. So I think what was happening when I would be taken, it would be a suppressed emotion that I didn't know I had. And that's how it was coming out, would be in, it's the same thing if somebody holds in all of their anger emotions or whatever on somebody and then just like completely explodes on them. I think that's what was happening, but I didn't realize it, So every time I was taken and all of this poltergeist activity started happening, it was actually my energy doing that as suppressed emotions.
Yeah, probably
from
was
almost
too.
being traumatized.
And that's a lot of stuff when you have teenagers in the house
Mm-hmm.
that are gifted. A lot of times you'll have that kind of shit going on. If the parent's not aware of it, there's a lot of stuff can happen out of that. I mean, you see a lot of that kind of stuff go on. And with gifted kids, or sometimes it's just a sheer amount of energy.
Yeah, it was just, suppressed energy. And there are other times, not 100%, there's so many spirits around me all the time and probably aliens and everything else that after I was sick with Lyme disease, I forgot stuff all the time because of the white lesions in my brain. And so I'd be leaving the house and forget, maybe I left the stove on or something, forgot my keys and was going to lock myself out of the house again, or my debit card or something. Well, something around me obviously would throw my purse on the floor. So I'd remember that, or turn the sink on. So I'd go back to the kitchen and remember that. So it was actually helping me 100% in my life, so I didn't actually kill myself somehow. So that was useful.
Yeah, I was very ADD when I was young too. I was always doing shit like that. Did we leave the coffee pot on? Did we leave toaster plugged in, or the dogs wherever, cats wherever? Just used to make me crazy. The only problem was as I was on a trip and started thinking about it, well, not much you can do about it now. You're 500 miles away.
But did you find that either ETs or spirits or whatever around you start helping you?
Yeah, it actually seemed like when I would get aggravated enough, it would come in the back of my head. I don't know who it was, but it would come in the back of my head. I don't know if it was them or if I was just actually taking myself back telepathically and looking. But one way or another, something was letting me know, no, it was safe. You don't have to worry about it. It's not going to burn down the house. It's not going to do this. It's not going to do that. Oh, here it goes. Hold on. Let me get rid of the little one. It's seen its mama go by. You think you did, huh? You look like an alien to me. I'll tell you, that's what aliens look like, people. You also know that's a mini alien. Yes, that's what that is. Yes, even the Greys are scared of this little mini alien. I don't know why they are. I'm scared they're going to gnaw off a toe or something. Jimmy, you mean telepathy? Well, telepathy is used for a lot of things here. Real quick, a quick lesson. So in the old days, Russia and the United States used to have remote viewing programs. Okay? And they were using remote viewing programs to do things like find nuclear missiles or find silo bases or stuff like that. But they figured something out with remote viewing, couldn't tell them everything they needed. So they could find the location of something, but they really couldn't do anything about it. So what they started doing I think it was in 2002. It was either in 2000 or 2002, Boeing, the United States Air Force and the United States Navy came out and said they had closed their remote viewing programs and had opened up psychic ability programs. People with psychic abilities they were looking for, people could look, because psychic ability is much different than remote viewing. So a psychic ability, instead of remote viewing an area, I can get in your head and see through your eyes. So when you're walking through the hallways or you're sitting down looking at that code on the desk, I can see that. I can see the sign or where the location is. I can still see the the thing outside, but the difference is now I can go find out where I was instead of just a remote location. I can actually get a physical address. So it's a much more useful tool. But it's more so than that, because if you have a weak-minded president, like some of the ones that are running around right now, you could easily get into their heads with a telepath. Remote viewing is not going to help you do anything to get in Biden or Putin's head, but a telepath can, and give you an idea. Like right now, Putin's pushing this war. He wants to know what the limitations of the world leaders are. Well, if he can get into Putin and Egan's and a few of the others' head and Boris's head, then he's got an idea of how far he can push it. Oh, come here, you! Hold on, y'all. I gotta get the demon back. Ow! Sorry about that. Okay, the demon has returned. So you want an earbud too? You need an earbud to see what's going on here? Oh, whoever knew this was going to happen. Okay, but no, you could it's really a different way of doing it. So most people always thought that remote viewing was the way to go. And I did a lot of remote viewing interviews when I first got into radio, Ed Dames and a whole bunch of them, all the ones that were working for the government. And they were good. I mean, they were good remote viewers. They could tell you a lot. They could find a remote location and find places. But when I asked them, I said, well, do you know the guy's name that was the colonel that had the code? Well, no. Well, we need that. We need to know what the code is if we're going to do anything about it. Or if we were going to make an attack on a base, we'd want to know everything about the base inside the base. Well, remote viewers weren't all that great about that. I'm not hating on remote viewers because there's a useful for both things as uses. So you can use a remote viewer to find something in a particular area, and then you can use a telepath to narrow it down and find out what you need to do about it. And if you had a telepath, I mean, somebody with telekinesis, you might even be able to do something about it. But we haven't quite got there yet. At least I hope not. I'd hate to think of Putin having somebody who can type in, launch codes to one of our missiles. Yes, Lola. What are you doing? You can't hardly see. I know, Carol. You can't even. If she didn't have a green sweater on, you wouldn't even know she's there. She'd blend in with my vest. She is black, man. Most people think she's.
I started. When you have passwords like you enter in the computer, and I was talking about this with somebody one time about why they have the little eyeball next to it that you can click on whether or not it encrypts your password or not. And my friend's like, well, why would they need that if it's just your private phone or computer or whatever when you're typing it in? And I was like, well, that's why, because if I always leave mine on like the crossed out, where it comes up as stars, because I always think of that as far as remote viewing. I'm like, somebody can see literally, even if it's something that you only touch ever, they can see through your eyes to get it. So
it's the easiest way to do it too, man. They get a lot of information like that. Government uses a lot of telepaths. They burn them out a lot too. And then that's why they're always looking for contactees, because they know contactees have telepathic abilities. Empaths are great, but they're used. You want me to tell you what the government uses empaths for? They use them for doing not regressions, but when they need to hypnotize you and make you forget something. It's called a passive hypnosis. So the empathic ability. So they do the regular hypnosis, but the empath is actually in your head, laying their feelings into your head. Makes it way easier to put somebody out and change their memories. You can leave a sense of happiness, a sense of fear, a sense I'll never go back there again. All that can be left without being a telepath, just a really good empath. Well, just because you're empathic don't mean you're telepathic. You probably should be, but you just haven't developed that ability yet. Empaths are just what they are. They're empaths. And we don't consider anybody not to be a contactee if they're not empathic, at least empathic. Well, we consider empathic abilities to be how can you say it, the least of the 4 or 5 abilities they are, the easiest to achieve.
They can also be, if it's not controlled, can be detrimental too.
That's what I was just getting ready to say too. It's all great to be an empath, but if you don't know how to handle it, it'll drive you batshit crazy.
Oh my gosh.
Well, because I was giving a lecture at the X conference. It was in 2010, and we were talking about this, and they had a very telepathic group a very empathic group in the audience with us. And I was talking to them about it. I said, people just don't realize this. I said, empathic abilities are great. I said, but when you walk into a room and everybody is feeling in a way, or 800 different feelings. You're picking up on all of that.
Yeah.
And some people are better at transmitting than receiving. I said, but if you're a receiver, when you walk in a room, you're receiving everything in that room, and it's a lot for you to deal with. And a lot of times you're experiencing emotions that are not your emotions. You're experiencing someone else's emotions. And a lot of times you can transmit your emotions to other people. So you got to be careful with that. So, if you're dating, work, wherever it is, it's easy to transpond your emotions on someone else, or someone else's emotions on someone else, for that matter. But it depends what kind of empath you are. Some people are both. They can transmit and receive. Some people can receive better than they transmit, and some people transmit better than they receive. But all that makes a difference in a crowded room. You're exposed. There's no telling what you're going to pick up on. Sometimes people will write to me, I don't understand why I start laughing, or I start crying, or I get mad. I say, because you're somebody else's emotions. I said, check the area in, look around to how, I don't know, because the abilities vary on how strong they are. But I said, check the area. And I said, one of the ladies I work with, she said, I kept laughing over this. It just seemed like a stupid laugh. And she said, I went downstairs and my two sons were watching some stupid ass cartoon, laughing their ass off. I said, yeah, that's what you were picking up on. I said, but you can just as much transmit. I said, you ever look at your kids sometimes, not say a word, not even change the expression in your face, and they just walk the fuck out of you, walk the hell out of your room and go on with yourselves? And I said, when it's an older kid, it's different because they understand the look from mom and dad, but younger kids don't understand that yet. That's an empathic ability you just pushed in there. Or when you know your daughter, your son's in danger or having too much fun, a lot of parents can sense that.
And the same as far as kids go, what's happening more and more, because kids are more, each generation is more advanced than the last.
Yes.
Kids now, you're seeing kids that are typically extremely happy, and then they'll go to school and all of a sudden they're suicidal or something, because they don't know how to differentiate their own feelings and emotions from something that they were absorbing from someone else. And that's not, it's very hard to teach. It's not something that it just clicks one day that, once you're old enough to understand it, but you can't teach that so much. I mean, you can, as far as spreading good.
Well, you could teach it if there was enough people that actually understood it or believed in it.
Yeah.
It would be a good course to have online for somebody to teach you, how to learn how to control your empathic abilities. Because a lot of people have a hard time with it, and it does screw up a lot of people's lives. A good friend of mine, she's a transmitter, and she likes to transmit how she feels about people. Well, sometimes she thinks that's a reciprocated feeling when it's not. And then some people feel those feelings that are actually real, but don't know what to do with them.
Right.
They'll be like, well, I know that person's interested in me. I said, are you sure? And they're like, yeah, I'm absolutely positive. I said, well, and then they don't know what they want to do after that. That insecurity kicks in. Mm-hmm. It varies for a lot of people. There are some people who are just really good at using them. Some people can use them to their advantage quite well. Some can't. But again, we wouldn't even talk to a person and consider them to be an abductee or a contactee if they were not empathic. It's just, we expect that. And it's not hard to tell. Empaths know each other pretty easily. It's not a big thing like us bitching just a couple of weeks ago. My empathic abilities have, just before this war started, about 2 months before this war started, my empathic abilities were just going ape shit. Not sensing stuff out, and irritates me. And right now it's the same way. It irritates me because I don't know if I'm aggravated because of something else, or I'm just picking up somebody else, and unfortunately my empathic abilities can have quite a long distance these days. So it's Jesus. And then all of a sudden I'll hear something or I'll see something, and then I realize, oh, well, that's what that was.
Yeah. And I get that way too. For a while there, before I knew more how to control it, I couldn't even go to the zoo, for that matter, because I would be picking up on the animals, and if they were just their sadness and things like that. And so it started to get to where literally the entire world was breaking my heart, because there was so much, especially during the last few years, there's so much anger and sadness and
there seems to be a lot.
So I didn't want to be around people ever. I just wanted to be out in nature. And even then, there's certain things when it first started happening to that degree. If I could sense, a butterfly getting caught in a spider web, pretty far away from me. And, and so when things
you got to learn how to turn all that stuff off. That's all got to go off.
So it took me a while to tone that down and be able to function in society again. Otherwise, it's very difficult.
Now I don't know what triggered this lately expansion, I guess we'll call it, or lack of control might be a better way of saying it, but it's just been really weird. I don't know, and I've been picking up a lot of different people, which makes me batshit crazy, like I said earlier. It's but in some ways it's a good thing, some ways not so good. You sense certain things you don't want to sense sometimes.
I've had the problem. I don't know if you've experienced this because I'm not always in a city. Kansas has tons of open space. So, but it was right after the shutdown when everything started opening back up, and all of a sudden there's all these 5G towers, that miraculously went up when during the shutdown. And I would notice those because of my heart. A lot of people with heart problems have become more sensitive to the electromagnetic energy put out by those. But what I noticed was, since I do visit a lot of cemeteries, being a medium or a witch or whatever, there's always a tower by a cemetery, always. And so to me, when it comes to people who are empathic or even psychic, medium, anything like that, it got much harder to control after all of those towers went up. And I'm like, well, that actually makes sense, because if you think of it from even electromagnetic energy standpoint, or even when people try to, invoke spirits or summon them or whatever, what these towers are doing, it's like and more satellites and things like that. It's like a constant, they're literally exercising them all of the time, and so that's a whole other issue, I guess, at the moment. There's no way to shut that off because they're everywhere.
Yeah, well, they're everywhere. They're down, no doubt about that. Everywhere but where I need them. My damn Apple phone's a piece of junk. Where you have 5Gs when I need y'all out here. And this phone won't roam on its own automatically. You got to move it from 4G to 5G. I'm like, you got to be kidding me, man. I said, this is a $1,000 phone. It should do all that stuff on its own. I knew I should have never left Samsung, people. I knew it. What can I say? I'm going back. As soon as I pay this one off, I'm going to get me a Samsung. All right. They got better cameras anyway. I take a lot of damn pictures. I do. I have, Jesus, at least a few thousand pictures a year, every year. Well, I take stuff from work, which is always a thousand at least of pictures every year. And then we travel. Like, you see, like that picture you sent me of the sun. I take lots of pictures like that. One of the ones I just posted the other day was a sunset not far from where I live.
Oh, that wasn't a sunset. That was actually in the clouds, that fire looking.
Yeah.
That was when you were talking about one of your scariest experiences. I was like, oh, I should send this because in future, it's in the cloud. It looks like a fire in the cloud. It's not. That was a really dark cloud over my house, and just the spot over my house looked like a fireball.
Yeah, I get some. Well, I wouldn't call them sunsets, but I get some. From time to time, I just get some really good shots where it just looks. There's one I posted. It looks like, when you're looking at it, it looks like one of them horror movies where the fire is just rolling, like a nuclear bomb had just hit and it's just rolling towards you. It wasn't a fire, it's just the sun, but it was the way it was bouncing back and forth between the clouds and the ground made it look like it was rolling along. It was a spooky looking thing. It's like a friend of mine the other day said he was watching something. He got on and on about fire and space and talking about how it burns, it's just going to burn. I said, no, fire doesn't burn like it does down here. I said, you got to remember two things about fire in space. One, it burns in a ball. It like roll. It doesn't even, you don't even realize a ball. It just kind of like tumbles and rolls along. But as it's going along, it's burning up all the oxygen behind it. Mm-hmm. So not only is it going to burn you up, if it doesn't manage to kill you, burn you, you're going to suffocate to death as it passes you. It's a much different beast in space than it is on the planet. It's actually more dangerous up there than it is down here. Who would have thought that? But it's part of everything in life. But I like those cloud. I got one where it looks like these beams are coming through the clouds, and then it looks like 5 fingers coming out the clouds, and then rays going in between each finger. It's crazy looking. I got it. I was sitting there watching a parade on the coast on the beach, and I took a picture of it. It's just how it came out. I was like, what the hell is this? It wasn't even meant to be there. Like I said, I was just taking a picture, and us, it's always pretty here because we got so much water and so much vapor in the air. We always have pretty colors in the sunsets. We sometimes are flammable oranges and reds, but sometimes they're purples and blues and greens, and sometimes it's all combined together. It's a strange feeling. And then we get these sunsets that look like rolling fire along the edge of the coast. Just looks like the whole coast is on fire. And it's not, but when people see it, like, wow, what is that fire? I said, no, it's not actually a fire. But then I've got some that are actually fires that look pretty cool too. Because traveling like we do, we'll find things like Florida be on fire, or some forest will be on fire somewhere when you're rolling along, and which is a bitch because you always got to play dodge the animals, and those animals are looking for somewhere to go. I've seen more weird shit on the side of highways, wolves walking alongside the car. I'm like, well, you can go home with yourself. A friend of mine, you're not going to shoot him? I'm like, no, he ain't bothering me. No, he's just looking at my car. And as long as he ain't trying to eat me, we friends. I'm friends with all animals until they try to eat me. And then things change a little bit. But it's strange. No, Carly, empaths link easily. It's even bad. See, like us two tonight, we're bouncing off each other's heads, but it's you see this a lot with empaths, and especially empaths with their friends. It's much easier to get in each other's heads.
Most people don't even realize they're doing it, though.
They don't. They until they have unexplained emotions, and then they're like, you'll be surprised how many people end up in a nutty ward because they have empathic abilities, and none of the drugs work for them because it's not getting rid of the empathic ability. Matter of fact, the only time they can ever cure them is if they give them something strong enough to knock out that ability. Usually, that's some serious, antidepressant.
Most drugs enhance
a lot
that,
of drugs
exacerbate that anxiety or sadness or whatever they're feeling. So
they what do you mean? Oh yes. Well, who was it just recently? Somebody was telling me they were doing LSD to enhance their abilities. It was just recently too. It was a couple of big people. Oh, I can't remember who it was now, but
last night on my
they were probably they were probably on LSD, but we're not going to be mean. It's I think they got confused with they were doing the Anunnakis and the and the Palladians is the same aliens, but they're two different aliens. It's kind of like, y'all got confused here. But that happens with a lot of people. A lot of stuff goes on. And then the Dracos are interesting, but they're not actually Dracos. Dracos is just one of the star systems. It's not even their home world. It's just one of the star systems they inhabit. They put a colony here, but they put a colony here a long time ago, way before humans were ever on the planet. They came here because of the dinosaurs. They were like, look at this world. A lot of people think they're from here, but I've had this argument with other people. When you get contact these ass reptilians, they usually date themselves somewhere in the 500 to 750 million year range, age-wise. That would have put them here before the dinosaurs. So they couldn't evolve with the dinosaurs. That would have put them here long before them. But no, it looks like they came here and visited, and whatever shit went down 63 million years ago, they left for a while. When they came back, they found, oh my God, where'd these things come from, meaning us? And I was listening to them last night because at least they mentioned that we're part reptilian. A lot of people don't like to hear that. I cannot tell you how many conferences, how many radio shows I've done when I say that. What do you mean we're part reptilian? I said, we all have a section in our brain that's reptilian. Oh, no, I had a scientist tell me, well, you're mistaken. I said, no. I said, what kind of scientist are you? I said, you must be not have anything to do with bodies or you'd know this. And he said, well, I do chemicals. I said, we all have, and I love you'll hear this in the background. Because everybody's checking to see if it's true or not. And when they find out it's a significant part of who and what we are, it changes everybody's mind. So I said, without it, we'd all be just wimpy little slaves. I said, just like the race that was here before us. And I said, there was a race here that was a slave race that was just doing whatever the Anunnaki and them wanted them to do. And then the human type aliens wanted them to do. And then all of a sudden, for some reason, the reptilians felt they either didn't like the other aliens or they felt sorry for us. I have no idea which one it is. But they started interbreeding with us. And instantly, we became sentient. We wanted to know why we got a plot of field. Why are we making beer for you? Why the hell can't we do this for ourselves? And there was a revolution. And but it took a long time. It wasn't like it was overnight. And the reptilians were intervening for a long time. I guess it was their way of upping the stake without starting a war.
I was going to say, a lot of times it's like, I think of it, every scientist and people like that try to, and I get it. You have the analytical side and trying to make things make sense in this universe. But I think it complicates everything, because if you look at things like that from a childlike standpoint, where it's kind of like if someone's playing with your toy, you don't want anybody else to play with that toy. I mean, you're okay with doing whatever you like. You can mistreat your toy. But I think of like my pets, like my dog, she loves her toys, but she can tear the stuffing out of it for all she cares. But if the other dog touches her toy, oh no, then she steps in.
Yeah, she's like, what the hell? Yeah, I can see
it's
that.
Kind of the same. So I always think of different species like that, like they're territorial on humans or on certain humans, because, or even as a whole, as a civilization, because I don't know. I think everything and everyone has an agenda. So obviously there's something.
Yeah, everyone. Well, it's true though. Basically, everyone does have an agenda, and
I'm not saying that's positive or negative either way, but it just is what it is.
And it is what it is. It's well, hold on. My demon keeps trying to get up here with us. She's not having it. So Daddy ain't been on the air in a couple of weeks. So that's just like, what the hell is going on here? Wait, what was that? I just seen something pop up. Oh, Margie. I have no idea what that name says. That's you got handwriting like mine, apparently, or spelling like mine. Be a better way. No, I don't believe everybody has empathic or telepathy, but I just haven't seen it in all the testing we've done in all the years I've been doing this for. Geez, I've been in the UFO field for over 35 years. I've just never seen that kind of. I mean, literally talked to tens of thousands of people, and you know how much radio I do. I just haven't come across that many people. I meet empaths on the radio all the time because I connect with them while we're on the air or when we're talking ahead of time. But for the very first time I met Trish, I knew she was. But that's because of a conversation we had on a whole different topic than we're talking about tonight. It's just, I just don't find, and I haven't found any that are non-abductees or non-contactees. In other words, if I find someone that is empathic and I put them under hypnosis, it's a 90% chance, it's a 100% chance, I'm going to find out they've been taken. I think, and
do you think it has to do with the left and the right brain theory? It's like artists and people who can sing and things like that. That's literally a different part of the brain that everybody has 100%. Not everybody uses.
Well,
do you think it's the same as that concept?
Yeah, it could be, but I think it might be partly that and partly the fact that originally the original abductions, the very first ones, however long it was, 2, 3, 4, 500,000 years ago, whenever this started, the original humans didn't have any abilities because the creators didn't want them to have them. But when the reptilians intervened, the reptilians are very telepathic, very empathic, and do possess telekinesis. But so did the human aliens. Both races, and nothing, and even as good as they are, they're nowhere even in the Greys family line as far as how good their abilities are. So I think that's where the abduction started. They started looking for people who were highly skilled, abducted. I mean, had high skills as far as empathic or telepathic or telekinesis abilities. I think the aliens started looking for that. And then once they found those originals, they started keeping track of those family lines. That's why they abduct in family lines, because they already know the abilities there. And they know it's going to get better and stronger in each generation. And each generation that cares enough to tell their kids about it ahead of time, lets them develop from a young age, of course, are going to be even better. So they know this a long period of time. They know this is going to work out exactly that way. They know eventually 50,000, 100,000, 500,000, 5 million years, somewhere down the line, the majority of this planet through breeding will be telepathic. And the way we know that is remember, ladies and gentlemen, 50,000 years ago, there was only Rh positive blood on the planet. There was no Rh negative. It didn't exist. Only Rh positive. Basically, everybody was brown hair, brown eyed, brown skinned, and Rh positive. Then somewhere along the line, Rh negative entered into the thing. Now, almost 17% of the world's population is Rh negative, and it's growing every year. And you got to wonder even how it even got a handle on this, because in the old days, it used to kill babies. So you got to wonder how this even took off the way it is. At the rate it's growing, according to science, within less than 200,000 years, it'll be 60% of the population of the planet will be Rh negative. That's a substantial change, because Rh negative people are not the same as Rh positive. Their genes are different, and their personalities are even different. And if you pay attention, most people who are colored-eyed are Rh negative, or have a family member that is Rh negative. That's where the green and blue eyes, where the mutations came from. Rh negative is a mutation, and that mutation caused the green and blue eyes, or varies of those colors, because there's lots of variations of those colors. But still, even today, they only make up, I think, 16% of the world's population. But yet, when you look on a stage or you look into politics, more than half of the people tend to have colored eyes. And if they have colored eyes, that means they're either Rh negative themselves or someone in their family is.
I think it's just evolution, though, as far as where that came from. Because if you think about it, as far as women having that can't have, well, they have that shot now that women take that are pregnant,
Yeah, the whatever it's called. Anti-denigen. I never can say it right. It's anti-denigen, whatever the hell it's called.
But before that even happened, and there were some getting, that had survived, I think of it as almost like, how humans become immune to certain viruses and diseases and stuff without vaccines. I'm talking about just by nature, because their bodies evolve through generations. And I think it's the same when it comes down to.
But they killed, I forgot, it was a high number. It was like 88% of the babies were born still. It was crazy high.
Yeah.
That's why they came with the gene therapy. That's why around the world you used to have a blood test to get married.
Yeah.
Even when I was young, I still had to have blood tests to get married. It was because they were like, look, no, you're taking a chance having a stillborn baby if you're not compatible. And I had never thought about that ever, about, what do you mean blood compatible? We're all the same species. Well, obviously we're not.
Well, and that even goes back through royalty, bloodlines, and, I mean, back in the day, arranged marriages, things like that, because that had a lot to do with it. Yeah. Absolutely.
It's a strange thing. Nobody knows exactly why the reptilians, the Greys, and the humans prefer Rh negative over Rh positive. But I just think it's because that's where the majority of the contactees got their abilities from. So that's where the majority of abductions are happening.
I've heard that the Rh negative is kind of, I remember doing research on this in college, is kind of has higher immune systems, higher metabolism, strong, bigger muscles, things. So yeah, I can see why that would be a preference.
It's
like a stronger human.
It was almost, see, I don't like talking about it because when I talk about it, people get mad at me because when I say it's like an upgrade for the species, well, my Rh positive friends get pissed. They're like, well, what do you mean upgrade for the species? I said, well, that's what it is. Well, what about me? I said, well, you're Rh positive. You probably somewhere down the line, your kids will marry somebody Rh negative and be upgrading your species. I said, and that's the way it's going to work. I said, I look, I didn't create this. I'm not the one that went back 50,000 years ago and freaking changed everybody's genes around. I said, look, see, in the beginning, I thought it was Mother Nature because I figured she just figured we needed to upgrade. But then I realized something. Mother Nature's really not all that keen on creating things that kills procreation. It's just not something she usually does. She usually doesn't. Right. Yeah, so I got to thinking then after we learned about the reptilian story about them interbreeding, we just figured the reptilians were probably Rh negative. That was probably where we got it from all those years ago. It's probably where it came from. When they interbred with us and they gave us that reptilian section, they probably also gave us Rh negative. And whether it was a good thing or a bad thing, whether it was intended or not, no one has no ideas. But even today, I've talked to, 20, 25 hematologists now tell me the same thing. We don't know where it came from. We don't even know why it started. And they say the same thing. Nature wouldn't have created it. They had the same aspirations I did. Why would Mother H create something that's going to kill babies? But so, like you just said, it's a true and a not true because yes, it does kill a lot of babies, and even today, it still kills a lot of babies because a lot of people don't realize you can go get a shot for it because they live in poor countries. But it is an upgrade.
Well, because I think you have to have a balance. There's everything in this universe, everything on this planet, everything within people is mirrored, you have, it's like the good and evil thing, negative and positive. So, but that's the only way, balance is the only way that anything evolves ever, even if it's a catalyst,
Yes, it is. It is strange. And there are, in case y'all didn't know this, there are different personalities between Rh negative and Rh positive people. Yes. A lot of people say that the Rh negative people have an extra rib. I've never actually tested that theory. I know there is a group of people on the planet that do have an extra rib, but I'd have to actually put that to a really big research project to make sure of that. But I do know things like the Rh negative people tend to be more empathic and more telepathic. That's over the testing. That's why the majority of abductees and contactees we find happen to be Rh negative. It doesn't mean you're not going to be empathic or telepathic if you're Rh positive. I don't see. That's why this is such a hard subject to talk about, because people get defensive immediately. And there's no reason to be defensive over it. It's just something we're moving towards. And even if you are Rh positive now, eventually Rh negative will reach the max and breed you out. And what I mean by that is your children and grandchildren and great-children will eventually become Rh negative. You'll breed yourself into a different thing, or you'll breed yourself out, one or the other. You'll either breed yourself into the population or you'll breed yourself out of existence, whichever one comes first. I don't know, because I'm Rh negative, so I'm not really worried about it. And I see, I didn't know anything about this either. When I started doing this research, I had no idea what this was going to come out to be. Nothing. When we put out the first feelers, well, we went through we had 25,000 cases on file. So we went through those that had the blood types on them. And we did find that the Rh negative was just barely tapping over the Rh positive. But when we really opened up the subject and got into it with the doctors and opened it up to all the websites and the radio, and it's at 80, almost 90,000 people have now, 90,000 contactees have now given us their blood types. And it's almost 70% Rh negative. So it's a high. It shows you that aliens do prefer Rh negative, or that's the children that are moving forward, and that's the ones they're looking for. Because they're looking for the abilities. They want to inbreed abilities into us, not directly. They want us to do it, but they want to help us in that area to keep, like Rh people marrying Rh people, or Rh negative people marrying Rh positive people with good telepathic abilities. They're trying to breed that ability up, because eventually, if the species becomes total telepathic, it's going to be hard for everybody to lie to each other. Yeah, you might be able to block this and that, but a lot of things it's going to be hard to lie in general. You'll have to be more, you'll have to wear yourself on your sleeve more than you do today, because people are going to know when you're lying, or they're going to sense when you're lying either way. So it's going to make it a lot harder. It's going to change our species dramatically. It's going to make us into a whole different species, a less violent species. I think in a good and a bad way.
I mean, because think about it, if more people were empathic, it kind of puts you in the other person's shoes as far as even
the person you're going to kill, the person you're about to beat up.
Exactly.
You'll start feeling, you'll feel empathy for them. Just like the poor Russian soldiers are feeling for the Ukrainians. They're feeling empathy right now. That's why they're getting their asses kicked. But eventually that'll stop after enough of them get killed. But it's just part of it. And that's what they want us to be. And as a society, we have been becoming more empathic towards each other. The last 30 years have been a much more empathic society than it's been in the past. But things like this will break it up fast. We need to grow. We need to grow into a point where that we understand that we are just one happy family, and we all need to live together. And see, the problem is right now is there's 200 different countries on the planet. So there's 200 different ideas on how we're going to make it in existence. And I just don't see that changing anytime soon. I'd like to see it change anytime soon. Mark, I know you think World War III is going to change it, but I don't know. I'm not sold on World War III yet.
I always tell people that it's like, it's that Batman quote, if you kill a killer, there's still one more killer left in the world. So it's true, that doesn't really solve anything. Exactly.
Yeah, but you see, we should be able to get to a point where we'll be able to telepathically scan people and take that out of them, or change the gene or change something in them that takes that ability away from them. So it's still a good ways off. I know.
Even before we get to that point, though, people can do that every day by just being human and being compassionate once in a while, because you never know someone else's story.
You know,
and that person that maybe it's a homeless person that you're prejudging or something, and you actually take the time to be kind to them that day. Well, that person could have been the next Hitler or something, and maybe you just changed their life.
That's true too. Little things can make a difference in people's lives. When I first got into all of this long, many moons ago, it was strange to me. And then I started traveling and speaking. And then people would just come up and wrap their arms around me, start crying and hugging me. And it was weird. And the only time I had seen that is when Linda had met Walt Anders, because that's who we recently started doing our research with, was one of her personal heroes. So when she met him, she was all like, yeah. And I just never had anybody do me that before. And then people hanging on you every word, that was weird for me. I got a big ego, don't get me wrong, people, but that still seemed embarrassing and immoral. I don't know. It just was weird to me. But, when you save people and you help people, they want to let you know. And I was appreciated knowing. So it also helped me to keep moving forward and keep saying, okay, well, if you help one, maybe you can help one more. We all need help, Glenda. All of us do. In some shape, form, or fashion, we all need help with something. You mean me personally? Yeah, I need money. Give me lots of it. I'm sorry, that was wrong.
That means you're living in lack. See,
that's wrong on many levels.
Some of the poorest people in the world are billionaires. So it depends on perspective.
Yeah, some of the poorest people in the world are happier than anybody I know, too. Some of my church friends they live in, little houses, little trailers, whatever, and they're just as happy as can be.
Absolutely. Abundance does not mean monetary value.
And, Donnie and Glenda, I can relate. I mean, look, don't get me wrong. I've been poor. I've lived in the street. I've lived in hotel rooms. I know what it's like. So you ain't got to preach to me. I came from a very wealthy family and ended up living in the streets. I know what it's like. So it's a tough thing. Well, no, life's different now. I'm grown. I understand life better. We're talking about when I got out the military and all. It just took, some things I didn't care about either, so that made it even worse. After my dad died, I got on this when I was 16. I got on this rampage until when my son was born in 23. It helped me change some of it, but it took me till about 32 or 33 to really get past whatever it was that was bugging me. Yeah, it's just one of them things. No, I quit drinking because of my son. And when he was born, I like to drink a lot, so I didn't want to wake up one morning, middle of the night, because he was crying, reach over and smack him without thinking. So I quit drinking. It's just sometimes you got to know yourself and do things right. But we all have issues and we all have to deal with them. And there's lots of ways to deal with them, and there's lots of ways not to deal with them. Like a lot of my friends, when I was young, I liked to drink. I would drink myself. I didn't want to dream, so I'd either drink or smoke myself to sleep. I still don't like to dream, by the way, but because too many of my fucking dreams come out to be true. It's one thing when there are other people. It's a whole other thing when it's me. So I just, to some things I'd rather not know. Until I was 30, everybody I knew who was going to die, I dreamt about it 2 years ahead of time. Everybody.
Yeah.
So I finally put a kibosh on that. It's trying to sneak back in now, but I put a kibosh on that shit. I'm like, oh no, I can't take this anymore.
Well, plus, in your dream state, that's another thing people don't realize as far as when it comes to other people's energy being able to access yours. That happens a lot in your sleep, because when a person's asleep, obviously they're not able to block that out as much. So other people can be, even somebody in a positive way that's just thinking about you or something, sending that energy toward you, affects a person's sleep.
It does.
So
I don't do it anymore, and I may pick it up again in the near future. I used to teach a dream weaving course for a couple of reasons. One, for protection. It all started over a good friend of mine, and his girlfriend kept getting psychic attacks. They were young. They were in their early 20s, and they had no idea how to defend themselves. Yeah. And he kept telling me about it. So one afternoon, I was really in a bad mood. I said, well, hold on. Let me see what I can do about this. So I said, this is what I wrote him a letter about what I was going to do that night. And I said, call me the next day and let me know if anything changed. So about 3 o'clock next afternoon, I get a phone call. This guy, he said, Joe, the guy called and apologized to us and asked whoever I put on asked if they could please stop because they were now scared beyond belief. I didn't do nothing that nasty. I just, was on a scale of 1 to 10, it was like a 5 nastiness. But, and, he was hurting some friends of mine, pissed me off, and he quit. And they were amazed. They were stunned. They were like, I don't understand how you did it. I said, well, here, I'll show you tonight. I'll get in both of y'all's heads. And the next morning we were talking. I started talking to Jay. I said, well, Jason, if you're going to dream about dragons, dream about some pretty color ones. So I said, you had some like a beige. I said, what's a beige dragon, dude? I mean, come on. He looked at me. His whole face just went, whew. He's like, there's no way you could possibly know that. So I look over at her and I said, that guy you were thinking about? And I started going on with a lot of detail. And she's like, all right, that's enough. She said, she said, how do you, I said, it's called dream weaving. It's easy to get in somebody's head when they're asleep. I said,
Yeah.
I said, unless you teach yourself protection, there is no protection. I said, you leave. So you go to bed at night, it's wide open. I said, almost everybody is. I said, very few people protect themselves because they don't know there's anything to protect themselves from. And they're like, what?
I learned how to protect myself from that when I worked at a casino, actually, because I worked the grave shift and I was sleeping during the day. So that's even more dangerous.
Yeah, it is.
There's all these people who don't consciously know they're doing that. But I was asleep while they were awake. So if anyone had any negative thoughts or something towards me, my kids, whatever, then that was going because I was sleeping during the day. So, and then I also realized
sleeping during the day was always hard for me. I like sleeping during the day. Don't get me wrong, people. If I had my choice, I'd sleep during the day. But I
got off at
way more.
6 a.m.
Yeah,
so
I dreamt way more. I'd have way too many cognitive dreams, too many. It was too much.
It was affecting my health.
Yeah, and even alcohol and drugs would not affect it in the daytime. I do not know why. At night, I could sleep. In the daytime, I don't know what it was. Maybe because it was just enough light coming in that my brain knew it was daylight and it was half, not all. I don't know what the hell it was, but just too much. And right now, even drinking, well, I don't drink right now, but even smoking, my brain still wants, it's on overload for some reason. It's, I don't know what it is. Something triggered it off. And now it's so overloaded at halftime. I'm lucky I know what the hell I'm doing. I'm forgetting half the things I'm doing. It's something kicked it in. It's like an ESP warning.
I think it kicked in for all of us prior to, because when tension starts amongst an entire world, that energy is going to spread. So when everyone is on high alert, obviously it affects us more during those times. And I think that makes us, or who knows, maybe the ETs are like, hey, y'all need to get on it. You need to be on high alert also. So
no, it's a, well,
either way.
Well, it's like, I remember I was doing a lecture in, I think we were in Cali. No, we were somewhere else in Georgia. But it was funny. We were talking about the end of the world and this, that, and the other thing. And people said, you think you can sense it coming? I said, well, some things you can sense. I said, for some reason, no one really sensed 9/11. I said, I don't know why, because they should have, because it wasn't like, see, some events, like if it's just a spontaneous event, okay, you may not have time enough to see that coming. You might, some people might catch it, but the 9/11 thing always bothered me because it had to have been masked, because it took them 4 years to complete this event. And in that whole time, no one predicted this. No one. People try to take credit afterwards, but when you go back and look at this stuff before, no one said the Twin Towers and all 7 buildings were going to come down. There was no one, even Notre Dame didn't say that. So so somehow, even though events get picked out from time to time, like volcanoes and earthquakes and other events like that airplane crashing, this one didn't. It made me feel like it was being hidden. And so it got me to think about, were these Arabs smart enough to bring somebody in that could cover it? Because they knew the government at that time. They knew the government was working with telepaths, and so it had to be something. And the bad part about that whole thing was, in some aspect, we knew about it. Just they weren't talking to each other, so somehow or another it got missed. But the telepaths missed it, or everybody missed it. It didn't matter where you were on the planet. Everybody just seemed to miss this one event. And now the Putin thing, some people say they missed it, but I've been hearing Putin's going to invade Ukraine for a long time. So I'm thinking that wasn't a mystery.
I started calling people about, I didn't know the details, but I started predicting that like 2 years ago. Usually major events for most psychics I know, even and telepathic people or remote viewers or channelers or whatever. If it's something really big, whether negative or positive, it is about a 2 to 3 year window. So
yeah, a lot of times it is. And I just, whatever reason why we all missed. I say we all because we all really did. For whatever reason, we all missed this one event. I'm sure there's something out there that we're not seeing, or something else that was involved. I do think it was being hidden. I think that somebody brought in some serious telepaths to hide the event. I think they wanted to make sure that people like us didn't see it. I will tell you this, though.
That was 2001, right?
Yeah.
So if you think about it, the entire world, there was a big shift, a major shift at the end of 99. You know, that was the last end of a century. So who knows what happened after
yeah,
that?
it was, I don't know. It was definitely strange. It was the only thing I know about a month before it happened, a bunch of the abductees and contactees I worked with started getting antsy feeling. But they aren't predicting anything. They just felt they were like I've been feeling the last couple of weeks. I've been really antsy. They were like they knew something was up, but no one knew what it was, and everyone was surprised when it happened. Yeah, I don't know.
I lived in Japan at the time, ironically, and I had started having weird physical ailments that I hadn't had in my life in a long time, as far as like psychic physical ailments, you know, and shaking and jittery and forgetting and anxiety and all that stuff. So I knew it wasn't because I was in another country.
It's the whole thing was just strange. And Michelle, if you're listening, I have no idea what that's about because there's no community strikes. So we'll have to find out. I have no idea. YouTube is on the warpath again. Guys and girls, I know we got to get out of here in a few minutes. And we didn't even talk about what we're supposed to be talking about. So Trish hosts on Mondays, The Missing Piece. Y'all need to come check it out. It's getting good. It's getting interesting. Sometimes she has guests. Sometimes she don't. You want to tell them anything about that show?
Oh gosh, I've had 7 shows, I think, now. And next week I have Patty Negri, the Good Witch of Hollywood. I'm excited about her coming on.
I like good witches.
She's a very gifted medium, and that's something to look forward to. And then I try to find people who I'm drawn to intuitively that has a story that I'm interested in hearing, you know, and sharing.
Yeah, and usually when you're interested, other people are too. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, if you are empathic, especially if you're a sender and you happen to be thinking about someone that you might, you know, have fantasies about, remember, they may pick up that fantasy, especially if you're dreaming about it at night. It's a good chance you may send it to their head. So keep that in your thoughts. I'm just fair warning. I know from experience dealing with other people, it's just stuff that happens. Just keep it in your head. I'm not saying it's anything bad. You could be you walking your dog or something. I'm just giving you a friendly piece of advice. Remember when you dream, even if you worry about stuff like that, when you go to bed, you can think about a couple of things that will help block people out. Or if you're really, really worried about it, envision in your head that all your doors have padlocks on. And not with key padlocks, combination padlocks. Okay, just do that. It'll help you some. It wouldn't help you get someone like me, but it would other people. No, I'd pick the padlock, baby. I'm sorry. I wouldn't even do that. It'd be gone. But it is a good way to keep people from getting in your head. And if you're close to someone and you want to share dreams with them, it's an interesting experience. It's why it's like empaths. When 2 empaths get together, their life can either be much greater or much more horrible. Oh, it just depends. Well, you think of it like this.
Got to be careful with that one.
You do, and a lot of different ways too. From physical ability, from physical things to in your head things. You just got to be careful. Oh, and you got to remember, if you're an empath too, and you get aggravated, everybody in the room around you is liable to get aggravated. Mm-hmm. Or if you're a receiver and somebody around you gets aggravated, you're allowed to get aggravated too. So
I have to be very careful with that. Like my kids and animals, if I have a bad day, the whole house is going to hell.
Oh yeah.
Oh no.
It's yes, people send it.
And I don't have to say a word. You know, I don't.
You don't. That's the whole problem. I mean,
I just have to walk in the door.
Food. Oh, my mom used to tell me when I'd have a bad day at school, she knew I was coming ahead of time. And she did, because she'd had like stuff waiting for me at the house, like food or something. It's probably why I was a little chunky bastard when I was young. I was always getting into some people. I mean, come on. I'm not your normal everyday. I can't help it. I play nice. I just don't want to be that cookie cutter individual. To be honest with you, if I would have been a cookie cutter individual, I'd probably be quite a bit wealthier than I am today, because my family and friends had plans for me. I just didn't have like the plans they had for me. How's that? I don't like when people set up a whole life for me. No, I don't need that. I wanted to see what life, and then remember this too, on a side note. Some people are here to learn karma, and some people are here to teach karma. Which one are you?
You have to learn it before you can teach it, though.
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, it's usually both. But some people are here really to teach serious karma, and some people are here. You mean me? I'm sure I've taught a lot of karma when I was young. Older, not as much. Because that'd be too much to the point today. So it's probably better somebody else does it. No. I'd be like, excuse me, let me teach this lesson the right way. No. I'm sure the aliens have a reason why they do things. Carmen, one more question and we're going to get out of here because the outer realm should be queuing up any minute now. Yes, I didn't ask Michelle who she had on. I'm sure if I looked, I could find it, but it will be coming on in about 5 minutes, and y'all can be sure to check her out. Her in Emilia Pisano. Yes, the Italian cook is what I'm gonna start calling her.
I love them.
I either call her Bubbles the Grey or now it's gonna be either Bubbles the Grey or the Italian cook, one or the other. They're great. They are a great pair. Mm-hmm. Oh, I love Michelle. Michelle's actually the manager of the station these days. Oh, well, hello, Amelia. How are you doing? We was just talking about you here.
There she is.
See, when you speak about, they pop up. I didn't say the devil either. Anyway, we're going to be turning this over to them in just a second. So, and then don't forget, Trish is also on Chasing Prophecy with Ginny, Jason, and Sean. That sexy beast, man, Sean. He is just too sexy to watch, man. I can't take it. Before anybody asks, just don't even ask. Don't even worry about it. Oh, he cracked me up real quick before we go. So one of our hosts on the network, Jeffrey, asked Sean if he'd come on his show because he thought he was a vampire hunter. You know, every time I do Sean's name, I always put something in front of it. Like the week before last, I had Sean Vampire Hunter. You know, sometimes I got Ghostbuster or different things like that. I just put him on there, but that was just too funny. But anyway, guys and girls, we got to get out. Be sure to catch it. What is it? 8 o'clock on Mondays, right? No, yeah, 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock on Mondays and 8 o'clock on Tuesdays.
Yes, 8 and 8. So you can catch her on Monday and catch her on Tuesday. She's a fabulous host. She's a lot of fun to listen to. She brings on a lot of guests, and Chasing Prophecy is always a lot of fun. You just never know who the hell they're going to have on.
We're a bunch of mixed nuts.
Oh man, it's a definitely interesting group over there. What do you mean? Who's the boss? Oh, you mean on Chasing Prophecy? Jenny's the boss. Yes, I'm not even gonna say it's anybody else. Jenny, if you sending me a letter or something, Joe. And she's in Padley too. She knows I was talking about her. But guys and girls, we got to get out of here. So, Tricia, thanks for coming hanging out with me tonight.
Thank you for having me.
I mean, yeah. Oh, I've been wanting to get you on for a while. I'll get you back in a couple of weeks because we really got into one subject matter and just kind of stayed there for a while. Well, empathic abilities are fun to talk about, guys.
Yes, in a few weeks I will have my other projects launched. I hope by then. So keep a listen now. So remember, you can catch her on 8 and 8 Mondays and Tuesdays. Of course, I'm back now, so I'll be here 6 to 8 on Wednesdays. Science and Beyond is back. Well, Fridays is split right now. So Science and Beyond 1 week, Centralist next week. And actually, Centralist may be going back to Changing America because a sponsor asked me if I would consider doing that. So anyway, about that. On that note, guys and girls, we got to go because I know Michelle's about to shoot me with something because her show's about to start in about 30 seconds. So please stay tuned for the Outer Realm. And everybody, have some fun. Enjoy your life. Smile once in a while. Hug your friend. Pet your dog. Love your cat. Well, not in that matter, but you know. And have a good St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, yeah. Let's not forget about St. Patty's Day. Y'all all have a good St. Patty's Day. On that note, good night, everybody.
Good night.